So I'm going to go ahead. There's names to read in their thing. I want to thank all of you who have been here for these 2 days of conference. I can't believe that we're on the second day of it, and it just feels like it's flown. It's such good content and such great participation. I'm just tickled, and not even because I'm itchy about how good this has gone. I know it's a terrible joke, but and excited about this topic as well. I want to say thank you to Leslie Gaines, all of Spark, so much Spark representation here. Leslie Gaines, Jacob Ingalls, Natalie Arnold, and Elizabeth Davis. I'm not going to read all your titles. I think you have an introduction for that. But before I do that, I do want to thank our champion level sponsors for the 2025 International Online Conference for Evergreen. Those are the Evergreen Collaborative Development Initiative, Midwest Tape and their Hoopla product, Equinox Open Library Initiative, Stack Courier, and Unique. Without them, we would not have this conference. So a huge thank you to them and caring about our open source community. That's pretty cool. I'm now going to turn this over to you all. I will watch chat unless somebody there, I mean, I don't want to interrupt because obviously I can rabbit trail a whole lot. But if you need anything, you skip over anything, I'll kind of interrupt and then go in. But otherwise, I'm not going to. So take it away, Elizabeth. I'm going to get rid of this.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. Let me share my screen. Thank you all for joining us. I know it's the last session on the last full day, so I really appreciate you all sticking it out. For cataloging non-English materials, we have a panel of library staff members from Spark Libraries across the state of Pennsylvania. Spark is a evergreen installation with over 180 libraries in Pennsylvania, and we are slowly growing. So we're very excited that Leslie, Jacob, and Natalie have decided to present this year. So I'm going to hand it over to Leslie to get started.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Leslie Gaines. I am the Bibliographic Services Manager for the Berks County Public Library System in Pennsylvania. As Elizabeth said, we are a Spark Library, and we are newer. We are only about a year old. We migrated last February 2024. We came from Polaris. So we are copy catalogers here. I have a staff of 2 full-time catalogers and an acquisitions / cataloger. So we do all of the cataloging and acquisitions for 25 of the 26 locations that we have. So we try and get things out as quickly as we can, but knowing that not all materials are easily added. So especially with Spanish language materials, they do take a bit of time, but we do have a couple of libraries that do have a very high Spanish speaking community. So we want to make sure that we can get these into the catalog and they are findable. So I don't have any specific project that I was working on. So I am just going to kind of walk you all through my workflow of cataloging a Spanish language item. I don't claim to be an expert, so be kind with any comments in the chat. So this is basically how I make items available to both English and Spanish speakers. I try my best to do as best I can to make them findable. So with that, if you don't mind going to the next slide, this is kind of my toolkit. So whenever I start with an item, I kind of have all these things at the ready. Obviously, Evergreen is the first stop, using the local catalog, searching as many different ways as I can to make sure that the item doesn't already exist. And then again, moving into these 3950 databases. Google Translate, not awesome, but it's the best I can do as a non-Spanish speaker. So it certainly does help with translating summaries, titles, things like that. WorldCat is huge as well. A great resource as long as libraries have their holdings in there. I do reference that quite a bit. Ingram, iPage, I mainly reference that for the summaries, any descriptions they have. It's an easy copy and paste resource. Diacritics, keyboard shortcuts for your accents and other international characters. Shout out to Madison Cockle, who's probably watching right now. She made this wonderful cheat sheet that I use all the time, and that I will show you in a couple of slides down the line. And then Libros for Oregon, a very cool website that I came across. If anybody is getting started with Spanish cataloging, it's a great resource. It has a bunch of links, templates, it has instructions, it has all kinds of things that you could use in your cataloging. So I do have a couple of screenshots from that, and also I have a resource page at the end. So there's some other links there. So this is what I start with. So if you go to the next slide, I'll kind of take you through my workflow. So again, Evergreen, basically doing every single search you can possibly think of just to make sure the item doesn't already exist. So ISBN, I do both the Spanish title, the English title, I'll do the author, I'll even go down and put the language in. And then the next slide just kind of shows you an example of what that search would look like. So as long as there are alternate fields with an English version of the title, it should pop up. But again, just basically doing everything I can to make sure it doesn't already exist in the local catalog. And sometimes I do find things, it might be a really brief record, it might be something that somebody just quick added, but at least I can kind of build off of it. So after that, if that fails, then I move over to the Z3950. This is the list that I have in my credentials. I know it's a long list, and it does make searching a little bit slower, but I do find that San Francisco has a really great, I do get a lot of hits from San Francisco. They have a great Spanish collection. BTCAT is usually okay. Some of theirs are a little bit brief. And then we also have Biblioteca Nacional de España, and then this biblios.net. Unfortunately, they don't have a robust, I don't have a lot of hits for them. It's not as many as I would like, but I do also include those just in case. And we just got Biblioteca Nacional up and running again, so that's good. So thank you, Elizabeth. So if you go to the next slide, again, this is just a snippet of what it would look like. Again, I go through the same motions, ISBN, title, author, all the things. I exhaust until I am finally like, well, either I get something or I don't. So I believe the next slide is an example. Yes. So I did actually find an item that got a hit for the Biblioteca Nacional credential. A lot of the items that the libraries in our system order that are Spanish language are independently published. So it's really tough to have records out there. And I did notice I did have a couple of these. This was a series, and all the results I got were actually digital titles. They weren't actually book items. So again, not super useful. And also the record, as you can see, is entirely in Spanish. So that is not something that I usually do. If there was something in here, like a subject heading or a summary, I would certainly pull from this. But this isn't something that I would normally kind of go for. But I just wanted to show you kind of an example of what that result looked like. The local catalog result is just our Ingram vendor record. Again, very brief, not something that we can usually go off of, hence why we have to go through this search process. So next, if that fails, my next step is WorldCat. So again, same as all the others. ISBN, title, author. If neither of those work, I would probably go back to title and then run down the left side of the screen where you can kind of filter even further. Format, print book, obviously, if I have the print book, change the language to Spanish, and then grab the pub date from the item itself and kind of put a range in there to see if I get any hits. And if I'm lucky enough to get a hit, which you'll see on the next slide, this is what the results page looks like. So then I can compare what I have in my hand to what is on the screen. There is a drop down that says show more information, and that will usually give you some other details. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. It all depends on the record. So with this, you see there's 2 libraries that within WorldCat that do carry this item. A little tidbit, sometimes you might choose this edition only or print only. And you kind of click through some of these libraries and you end up getting a digital record. So you might have to do some clicking to find exactly what you're looking for. Sometimes the filters don't always work as good as they should, but in this instance, I'm going for public libraries because we're a public library. So I usually go for those libraries first. So I went ahead and chose the Wayne Public Library, and the next slide will show that. So on the left, you can see the search result, and not all libraries do this. So some of the searching does not produce a good result, but you'll see that it does have in the list on the right, show catalog record. So that's always awesome, which is what you will see on the right side. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. So basically, what I can't fill in on my own from the item in my hand, I will take from the record. So the big one is the 505, the contents, because typing all of that out by hand it just takes forever. And I'm not saying that I don't do it or I won't do it, but if I can copy and paste it, that's huge. So, and then again, kind of looking at the subject headings, any other information that I can kind of add to the record, / copy and paste. Again, we're only copy catalogers. I hate kind of just taking things from other people, but somebody already did the work. So, and we don't have it, available in our databases. So this is kind of get the record in the catalog and findable by the patrons. So after that, what I would do in the next slide is grab my template. Again, this template came from the Libros for Oregon site. They have the blank template. And again, for all of those out there who use the enhanced mark editor, I do not have any screenshots for that because I don't use it. I only use the flat text editor. So that is what you'll see here. So this template was huge because it's all flat text. So they also have another version of this template that has all of the instructions, basically what needs to be in Spanish, what needs to be in English, and what items just need to kind of be updated from the item that's in your hand. So this is the template that I would use. And again, there's that screenshot of the cheat sheet for the accents and the international characters. So huge when you're just kind of typing along, you can reference that and just kind of keep going without trying to copy and paste some things from other areas. So if you go to the next one, this is also from that Oregon site. This is a English and Spanish genre form list. So this is another item that's nice to have. So if you already have your genres ready to go, there is your Spanish translation. And the source there at the end. And then the link under the Spanish genres, that takes you to the Biblioteca Nacional de España website. Also a great resource. You can search anything. You can search titles, subjects, genres, keywords to kind of get those translations and items to add to your records. So another great resource. So if you go to the next one. So Ingram, again, I mentioned for the summaries and descriptions. Another tidbit, this was another item that I did. You'll notice that this Ken Follett title is called Hornet Flight, but the Spanish title is Vuelo Final, which does not translate to Hornet Flight. It translates to Final Flight. So again, you might not always have a one-to-one translation of things. So again, alternate titles, for alternate searches. They also don't always do a one-to-one translation in the summaries. So translating the Spanish summary did not equal what is in the English summary. So you'll see in the next slide that I noted in the two 520s, I always try and do two 520s for the records, just more information, more keyword searches, stuff like that. The Spanish summary was taken from my page, and the English summary was taken from my page. If you're lucky enough to have a shorter summary that you can directly take from the back cover, I would put back cover. And then for the English translation, I would just say translation of Spanish summary, something like that. So again, alternate title search fields, your 246s, the subject headings in both English and Spanish. I use Bidex headings in this record, and that's the Bilindex subject heading list. So again, just trying to hit both languages for searching, mainly for staff, because I did do an informal poll that not everybody who does speak Spanish uses our catalog. So, but as long as the information's there, somebody can hopefully find it. So if you go to the next one, just another example, this goes back to that H.P. Lovecraft item I had earlier. Again, the two 520s, having the English and the Spanish. And then this item wasn't actually a translated H.P. Lovecraft story. The compiler just grabbed their favorite H.P. Lovecraft stories, and it was printed in Spanish. So the 246 is not probably an existing title for a book. I just translated it from the title that was on the item. So, but if someone was to search that magically, they would come up with this record. So again, just having different fields to hit everybody. So go ahead next. And this is just a pack view. So this is the one on the left is our OPAC. The one on the right is taken from the patron view. So again, just having that summary right at the top there when people search that. And then if you go below, you've got your summaries and more, and that will again give you both those summaries, the English and the Spanish. And then on the right there, again, showing those contents. So if anybody was searching for a specific title in that work, they could go ahead and see that, oh, that's the one that I want, and it's in this item. So again, just different things to have in the records. So I think that's it. That's it for me. So this is my resource page. So again, if we do share these slides, again, the Libris for Oregon, a great site, has a lot of stuff. And then just some of the other things that I use on a day-to-day basis. So that's it for me. Thank you.
So I'm Jacob Ingalls. I work for the Lackawanna County Library System. I'm going to be talking a little bit about cataloging library materials containing non-Roman scripts. But I also want to say I'm not the end-all, be-all expert on this. I've just delved into it a little bit and wanted to share some of what I have. If we could go to the next slide. I did want to clarify, because I mentioned we're cataloging non-Roman scripts, and what have the Romans ever done for us? Next, they have given us an alphabet. So what English is written in is typically referred to as the Roman script or the Latin script. But on the next slide, as we all know, the world uses a wide variety of scripts, many of them not Latin scripts. Next, please. So for us, this journey kind of started when we had a patron whose primary language was Gujarati. He was already coming to the library because we carried some Gujarati newspapers, and he kind of wanted to know why we didn't have books in Gujarati. Uh, and we said, like, we're not opposed to the idea of having books in Gujarati. So he came back with a handful of very short books. Some might call them booklets or pamphlets in Gujarati. So if you could go to the next slide. So we went and kind of asked around. We talked to someone at one of our local academic institutions, and they pointed us towards the very official academic way of doing these things. If you could go next. And the Library of Congress points out these various models of presenting non-Roman scripts. And their examples just list like, hey, you'll put Cyrillic script here. But on the next screen, I back transliterated the Cyrillic script so you can just kind of see what's going on. So the primary model that the Library of Congress presents and that we were informed of from our academic counterparts is that you transliterate and place that in either the original field or the 880 field. And the 880 field is alternate graphic representation. So if you go to the next slide, you can see that in the staff catalog, whatever's in your original 245 in your 100 field, that's all you're going to get in your record summary. But whatever's in the 245 will appear on top, and then whatever's in the 880 field will appear beneath that. If you could go to the next slide. I kind of termed this model A.2 because it's still under Model A as far as the Library of Congress is concerned. But the difference here is that you're putting your non-Roman script in the original 100 field, in the original 245 field, and you're putting your transliteration in the 880 field. If you could go to the next slide. Again, here's what that looks like. Your record summary is just going to pull the original, and your patron view is going to pull the original as well as the alternate representation. If you could go to the next slide. The problem is that we discovered that Spark doesn't seem to index the A80 field. Next slide, please. And so you have to be using the language that's represented, the script that's represented in the original 245 or 100 field. If you could go to the next, please. Library of Congress does talk about a Model B also, where you just kind of throw the script in and you don't necessarily create this alternate graphical representation. But the standard throughout the academic community is that you use the romanization tables, which if you could go to the next slide, I think is... Oh, yeah. So back to our Gujarati. Oh.
Sorry, should I go one more?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry.
So yeah, back to our Gujarati items. We kind of had these items in hand. We had a lot of information about alternate graphical representations and where things should be landing in the scripts, in the records. And actually, at this point, we kind of reached out to Elizabeth, and she pointed us to some of Laura Macungie's records, which Natalie will be explaining a little bit, because they were already putting Chinese script into records, and Evergreen was not freaking out about that. So we were like, okay, we can do this. We can just put Gujarati script in. If you could go to the next slide. So here's the romanization table. Just about every script that exists, the Library of Congress has created a romanization table, which takes the original characters and tells you how you should represent them in Roman script. Sometimes it's a little idiosyncratic. Sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense to people who actually use the language, but this is the official way you're supposed to do it. If you go to the next slide, please. One of the tools that we use to input the original script is Lexilogos. It's a little bit of a hunt and peck process, but once you have that, you can then Romanize it, and we used WorldCat to confirm that our romanization worked. Gujarati is a pretty complicated script, and sometimes letter shapes change depending on where things are in the word. If you could go to the next slide. Another feature I really like is that Google Translate has the option to handwrite, and then it'll try to translate it into the script for you. And you can see there my terrible Gujarati handwriting, but I was able to get the correct word of pata there. If you could go to the next slide. So kind of my two key takeaways as you're experimenting, if you're trying out non-Roman cataloging, you do not have to relearn how to catalog in order to catalog non-English resources. You just need to add some new tools to your toolkit. If you could go to the next slide. My other reminder is that no record is permanent. As you grow and learn, you can always go back and you can improve and enhance records. And that's it for me.
Thanks, Jacob. Hi, everyone. As Jacob had mentioned, I am going to be highlighting the Chinese collection that we have at Lower Macungie Library. You can see just a snippet of our collection that we have, and we do have some Chinese characters labeled on our library shelves, so to help patrons find that as well. Elizabeth, if you go to the next slide. Okay, so just a bit of background for this collection. It's approximately 2,300 items in the collection. It's primarily books that we have, but we also have some DVDs, some music CDs, and a few periodicals. And it's a mix of both adult and juvenile materials. And the items can be found written in both traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. And in the screenshot there, you can just see, I just took a few items from our shelf so you can get an idea of what we have. There's a music CD, the DVD, a children's book in the middle, and 2 adult books on the side. I realized I should have highlighted the orange book because I wanted to point out that some of the books do have some English translations on the covers, which does help with finding, especially for staff when they're shelving books or just trying to find them. But of course, I didn't realize that when I took that picture. So you can kind of see the English translation there. Okay, next slide, Elizabeth, please.
Natalie, can we just interrupt for what there is a question in the chat? How are works in traditional and simplified Chinese differentiated? Do you have an indicator of some kind?
That is a good question. Well, I'll throw out my disclaimer right now that I personally do not do the Chinese collection cataloging. I'm the cataloging department head as part of one of my roles at the library. So I worked in coordination with our library assistant who does the Chinese cataloging, Ting Ting Wu. She is fluent in Chinese descent, so she really helped me pull this presentation together and was kind of eye-opening for me as well. So I don't have an answer for that right away, but I definitely can find that out. Thank you, Devin. Yeah, 2 different sets of characters. Okay, let's see. Okay, so yeah, the collection began when our library opened back in 2001. And when we were cataloging them back then, it was all cataloged in English. And in the 245, the cataloger was using Pinyin, which is, if you can go to the next slide, Elizabeth. Essentially, Pinyin is transcribing Chinese characters using the sounds and turning them into Roman alphabet. So the sound that the Chinese character makes is the way it is written in English. And in this example, you can see the 245 is written in pinyin, and we do use a 246 to have the English translation as well. As just a side note, as Jacob was giving his presentation, I realized we follow a lot of the Model B aspect of what he was talking about, since we, well, and you'll, in my slides coming up, you'll see that we go to the Chinese characters. And Elizabeth, if you could go next. So going back to pinyin, this is just an example of what the pinyin translation would look like. This is an example of the romanization of Chinese characters using pinyin, and this is directly from the ALA-LC romanization table for Chinese, just as Jacob had mentioned. It's the official, this is how you do it, translation. So that is the way our cataloger does the translation. Next slide, thank you. All right, so we were doing it just with the opinion in the 245 field. However, more recently, we had a discussion and thought that using the actual Chinese characters in the 245 would be better way to do it for essentially patrons searching. We thought for those searching for these materials, perhaps that's the way that they would be searching for it. So the 245 is now cataloged in simplified Chinese, and the rest of the record is still in English. An ongoing project of ours is to edit the existing records that are using pinyin in the 245 and then move that to the 246, and then to convert the 245 to the simplified Chinese. And in order to do this, we are using the Chinese keyboard. It's used to input the simplified Chinese. And to get the Chinese keyboard, it's a Windows setting. And I just added a few screenshots here. You could see how to install that. So it's just a Windows setting, language, and then it's the option for Chinese simplified China. And if you go to the next screen, so once you have that option for the Chinese keyboard, once you are cataloging a Chinese item in hand, the Chinese characters begin to appear as you type the title in the 245 using pinyin, and then you can see the Chinese keyboard pops up with options for the characters, and it provides the best match first. So it may not be like where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on what the meaning of the character is. There's different options for that. And the next. Okay, and then as the cataloger continues to type, the rest of the title using the pinyin, the options for the simplified Chinese characters will display. So the more, essentially our cataloger, she will type in the entire title in pinyin, and most of the time it will come in with the full, you can see in the screenshots, the more you type, the more characters appear until she finds the string that is needed to create the simplified Chinese in the 245. And next. Okay, and then here's just a screenshot from the staff view of what the item, the record looks like using the simplified Chinese characters in the title. Okay, next. Okay, so what we've learned and some challenges. So we realized using the, as Jacob kind of mentioned, using the Chinese characters, when you enter a few Chinese characters, but not the full title, it produces 0 results. So because Chinese characters are put in as a full string, Evergreen actually recognizes that as just one word, not separate words. So it's seeing it as letters, and it won't produce any results if you're not putting in the full exact length of the characters in the full title. If you can go next. So one thing that we decided to do for a solution was to add a space between each character, so they are recognized as words, not letters, to help improve search results. So you can see in this screenshot here, we have the 245 with the characters written appropriately. And in the 246, it's the same characters. However, we just add a space in between each. If you go to the next, please, Elizabeth. Okay, so then when you do a search with just a few of the characters and there is a space in between, it will produce results. However, let's see, can you go to the next? Oh, however, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. However, the patron or the staff member, the user has to know to put that space in between each character in order to produce those results. It still doesn't really resolve the issue of the full string not appearing if you're only using a few of the characters. So we continue to try to make it as findable as possible. So you can see in this screenshot here where we have the 245 for simplified Chinese, the 246, the first one, we add the spacing between each character to improve search results, to help improve search results. The next 246 is the English translation of it, and the next 246, there's a lot of 246s, is the opinion version of it. So we try to cover all the ways a patron can search for it to better improve search results. If you can go to the next. And then here I just have a screenshot from the patron view, the OPAC. If a patron performs a search in simplified Chinese using the spaces in between, that it does retrieve the item in hand there. And the next screenshot is one also, if a patron searches in Pinyin, then the item will also be retrieved that way as well. So I will say it's definitely evolved over time. We're always trying to improve searchability and ways users can find it. I think for the most part, I want to say our collection is a more browsing collection, but we always want to make it the ability to have people look for something they're, be able to find what they're looking for, and also staff, because unless you're able to, read this, it's going to be quite difficult to find it. So that's why we're trying to add all those additional various title searches to make it as easy as possible.
Thank you all. Just wanted to open the floor for any comments or questions, or if anyone wishes to share what their library is doing in regards to cataloging materials that are not in Roman characters or not in English.
I think it's very exciting that so many have been, what is the word that I'm looking for? I don't want to say experimental, have been curious and willing to do something that may have felt outside of y'all's comfort zones in terms of your own native languages, but truly understanding what your communities look like and the resources that they want to access, and finding ways for them to discover them in your respective libraries. I just want to congratulate you on that and let you know that I think it's pretty awesome. And yes, Stephanie says, thank you. Great examples and resources. Do you want to read that, Elizabeth?
Sure. So this one's for Jacob and Natalie. Did adding non-Roman characters to records create problems with the OPACs in your building? Did your IT departments hate your catalogers?
I have not had the IT department reach out to me with any ire or hatred, so.
Yep, same here. It works fine. It seems to work fine with the OPAC, no real issues other than, like I said, just Evergreen not recognizing the characters as separate words and not just a string of letters. So that's really the only issue that I've come across, but it displays correctly and all of that. So yeah.
I would say it's all possible because of the magic of Unicode.
I am curious, do you folks have the additional language keyboards on your public OPACs or public computers at the moment? So that if they did come in and wanted to type using.
No, we do know that a lot of our patrons who use Gujarati first have their phones set to Gujarati. So I know when I was in reference and trying to help them, sometimes they'd hand me their phone in Gujarati, and I'm like,
Okay,
So
I was just curious. As an accessibility option.
So are they searching the catalog though? So you're talking about Gujarati. Are they searching maybe their own devices, but the Evergreen OPAC on their devices to find the materials?
That was the hope. We don't have any concrete examples of that happening, but that's what we wanted to have the option for, as well as displaying the text in Gujarati in that script as the primary title, just to give respect to the fact that that is the language of the resource and this is the best way to represent that language.
Cool.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, bringing up that question, that's actually a good point, because I know our website, we can do different translations and that's an ability there, but for the OPAC, I'll have to look into that for our in-house OPAC. But like Jacob said, I think a lot of patrons either they will have it used on their personal devices. A lot of times patrons will go directly to our staff member and just speak with her. She's pretty much the expert in this collection. So yeah, it was kind of with the mindset that patrons are either searching, using their own devices, since they would have the keyboard, the Chinese keyboard.
It sounds like,
but I want to look into definitely adding it to our OPAC in-house now that you said that. So thanks for bringing that up.
It sounds like all of your collections have evolved from the beginning, and so I was wondering if you have any next stages of evolution that you're thinking about or planning for. And that's to anybody that has such things in mind or on paper, so to speak, paper.
I mean, I will just say I think it's always an ever process of weeding. That's something that we're focusing on. I will say our Chinese collection really hasn't been weeded all that much. So that's something that we're looking into doing. We're continuously adding it. It's not, this collection isn't a special project where it's just donations of items, but we're actively acquiring new items. So yeah, it's a finite amount of space, and that's something that we haven't really done in a while. So it's nothing that's really exciting, but it's necessary, I would say.
I mean, this is the target audience. It's exciting. If you say weeding here, you're going to get fans.
Yeah.
Weeding and collection development.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Leslie.
I was just going to say, for us here in Berks, I can't obviously speak for the other libraries. We do centralized cataloging. So once we get everything in, it goes, and then we never see it again. So I hope that the items that we're adding get used. And I know there's been kind of talk of doing bilingual book club kits, or just flat out, other language book club kits would definitely be something that would take some time, but doable. But yeah, we don't have anything. I don't think anything on deck, but and I know there's the other languages. I think there's a larger Russian community in one of the one of our library's service areas, which I really haven't encountered any of that too much. And then some random Japanese titles, but Spanish is our big one. But we kind of just take them as we get them. So.
Thank you. We have a few more minutes if there are questions or additional comments.
I'll just throw in a comment with our collection. We've always had the way the cataloging has been done for the Chinese collection has always been by someone who's fluent in Chinese. So it's a kind of a different experience from Leslie and Jacob in the sense that our cataloger has that full understanding of the simplified Chinese and all of that, versus then the training of cataloging comes in-house. So we've been fortunate to have a staff member who's been able to provide that expertise for us.
Catherine did ask if anyone has tried using their tablet or phone to aid in translation, in addition to the tools that you suggested.
No, but I'm open to any tools. So the more tools, the better.
And then Carol is sharing that you can export bibliographic records with international export preference options. I'm not sure if any of you are. Do any of you use OCLC for records?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we use the Z3950 link for OCLC, and that will put the 880 fields in.
Okay.
If they exist, which is not a guarantee, and that wasn't the case for our Gujarati records.
We can't afford it here. It's too expensive.
I will say that all of the work that our librarians are doing here, and this is especially tying back to the presentation earlier that Jacob was in on inclusive cataloging, is that our records are shared with the state, the whole state, within the ILL platform. And so anybody who in PA could also then borrow and copy Leslie's records or Jacob's records or Natalie's records. So they're not only helping their local communities, they're helping add records and data for all of Pennsylvania. So we're really happy about that. Yes, and as Katie is mentioning, we can always add sources for more Z39. It gets a little long, so we want to be careful, but yeah, we could definitely have more if you find one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good to know.
Well, thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you also to you, Elizabeth. And contact information is up here for everybody. The slides will be available. The recording will be available. I also want to encourage everybody for tomorrow, while the regular conference is over, the Hack Fest is happening tomorrow. And if you have not registered for that, you are welcome still to sign up for that. And that's going to be for people to do some hands-on work in the code with documentation, and as well as for several interest groups we'll be meeting then, including the cataloging interest group. Somebody please tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong about that, but I think I'm right. So please make sure to sign up for that if you have not already. It's a good day to spend time talking with each other in maybe a less formal setting, but then also to meet up with maybe some of these people and ask questions. What a great conference. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for the three of you from your libraries being here, and for Elizabeth for gathering you all together, and everybody for attending. Have a great evening, and see you next time.